Our movie was Moneyball. I'm Tony.
I'm Sam.
And I'm Grant. Moneyball is about changing the way a general manager creates a team. Oakland Athletics general manager Billy Beane does not have a choice when it comes to rebuilding a team on a low budget. The A's lost their best 3 players due to better contract offers from other teams after losing in the 2001 playoffs. Knowing that 2002 is a rebuilding year, Beane does not know how he's going to come up with a roster of 25 guys that can compete for a division title. He bought Peter Brand from Cleveland, who explained to him that instead of trying to buy big-name players because he simply can't afford it, he should be trying to buy wins, and in order to do that, buy runs. Targeting and signing players solely based on their on-base percentage goes against what all of Beane's scouts are telling him, and really against the rest of Major League Baseball in general. Beane faces conflict throughout the movie, including disagreement with the head scout and playing time for specific players with the manager. Through the first 2 months of the season, the A's find themselves in last place. Once Beane finds a way to better implement his system and trade away distractions in the locker room, the A's start winning games and go on to break the American League record to win 20 consecutive games. They eventually go on to win the division, but they lose in the playoffs once again. Beane's work does not go unnoticed, as the Boston Red Sox offer him a contract during the offseason that would make him the highest paid general manager in the history of sports. In the end, he turns it down because he wants to win in Oakland on their budget. Boston moved on and hired a different general manager who implemented Beane's philosophy, and the Red Sox went on to win the World Series in 2004. Beane remains in Oakland, still trying to win the last game of the season.
Leadership can be defined as the process whereby an individual influences a group of individuals to achieve a common goal. The effectiveness of leadership is contingent upon several factors, including leadership qualities, leadership style, follower qualities, and situational factors. Qualities such as confidence, flexibility, competence, and loyalty are key to a successful leadership. The 2 types of leadership styles are democratic and autocratic. A democratic leader will consult players and take their opinions into consideration before making a decision. An autocratic leader is more win-oriented and makes decisions without consulting the players first. Follower qualities can include age, gender, experience, ability, etc. These can also influence the effectiveness of leadership, and for that reason, it's important that followers and leaders both have qualities that allow them to cooperate with one another. Situational factors that can affect leadership effectiveness include team size, whether it's a team or individual sport, and availability. Setting goals can provide purpose, direction, and skill improvement. Different types of goals include outcome goals, performance goals, and process goals. Outcome goals are based on results and focus on competition. Performance goals are based on improving performance based off past performance of oneself. Process goals focus on actions during performance in order to perform well. The principles of goal setting aid individuals in setting appropriate and attainable goals. Goals should be specific, measurable, action-oriented, realistic, time-specific, and self-determined. Setting both short-term and long-term goals is more effective in improving performance and agility than long-term goals alone. Short-term goals allow immediate achievement, while long-term goals provide something with more difficulty to work towards.
In the movie, Beane says multiple times that the goal of the team is to win the last game of the season. Coming off of losing in the elimination game in 2001, as he's losing his best 3 players, he knows that 2002 is going to be a rebuilding year. Regardless of the off-season moves and the strategy for rebuilding the team, he doesn't want to give up his performance goal of winning the last game of the season. He wants them to win the last game of the season in the playoffs so they win the World Series. With a small budget team like Oakland, he realizes that it's very difficult for the team to compete during a rebuilding year. He comes to the realization that winning the championship after losing his best 3 players is possible, however, when he meets Peter Brand, who explains to him who they should target and why for the upcoming season. The message being sent in the movie in regards to goal setting is that the ultimate goal of a baseball organization is to win a championship, and it becomes very difficult for a team to do during a season of rebuilding and with a small budget. The whole movie revolves around this concept. It's not a secret that everyone in the front office of the athletics organization wants them to win. As far as goal setting, winning the last game of the season is not reachable unless you break it down further, which Brand does when he breaks it down to why they should buy wins and runs instead of players. To get to the playoffs, you have to win games. In order to win games, you have to score runs. Bean's approach to selecting players and signing them simply becomes based off of on-base percentage, which is what his head scouts are telling him should not be the case, and it really goes against all of Major League Baseball as a whole. They calculated how many runs the team would have to win or how many runs the team would have to score in order to win and to make the playoffs. So the goal is specific. They averaged that number for the season down to how many runs they would have to score per game, so it's measurable. It's action-oriented because Bean and Brand are targeting these players and signing them, and these players are going to get on base. It's realistic because the number was 3.81, which is a reasonable and reachable goal for runs scored per game. It's also time-oriented because they have 162 games to win and to make it to the playoffs. And even after losing through and being in last place through the first 2 months of the season, they have goals by the All-Star break and heading into September on what they want and when they will be in first place. If I was in this position, I would have given it a try. I think that it's different and no one's tried it before, and when you are at a loss for ideas in regards to how to rebuild a team, I think Bean did a good job considering this option. It ended up revolutionizing baseball, really, because the philosophy started with Bean, but since then in 2001 it's tracked and expanded a lot with different teams in the majors. On a team that lost their three best players, the Athletics were left leaderless going into the 2002 season. Art Howe, the manager, took on no leadership role as he has conflicts with Bean throughout the entire movie over playing time of specific players and his contract beyond the season. Bean targeted David Justice in the offseason, a 40-year-old washed-up player, to provide a presence in the clubhouse, a veteran presence. While the team struggled through the first 2 months of the season, no one took on a leadership role, and there was now no sense of cohesion among anyone. Bean and Brand stepped up, started communicating with their players what the goals were and what they expect from them, and ended up taking on leadership roles. Bean talked to Justice and told him that he did not want him on the team for what he used to be, which was a power hitter, but for what he is now, which is a veteran leader. Because of this talk, Justice initiates conversation with Scott Hatteberg, who is one of the least confident players on the team due to a position change. Once the leadership skills were applied via Bean and Brand, the team goes on to win 20 consecutive games in the division. As far as leadership, I think the movie shows that without leadership, there's no way to bring a team together to win games. Lack of leadership is seen in the first half of the movie and is not a problem in the second half. Taking up leadership roles also turned the season around for the Athletics. Brand and Bean stepping out of the front office and into one of the situations also shows that they have the support of the players. They support them. And if they hadn't have done that, well, we don't really know how that would have gone. In terms of leadership, the leaders that emerge aren't ideal. They're not necessarily leaders prior to taking on the leadership roles that they do in the movie. You're not really going to see leaders with a washed-up slugger, an economist from Yale, and a former player that had no mental toughness and wasn't able to survive in the major leagues. I believe that Bean did what was best for the situation of not having a leader, but again, it's not ideal. If I was in the situation, I would have had the conversation with Justice sooner than 2 months into the season, in order for him to become a veteran leader and take on that role from the beginning of the season. However, I do feel that Bean did the best he could when that situation came up. Leadership skills were taken up and the team started to have success.
One of the messages of Moneyball is that any goal can be achieved regardless of setbacks and roadblocks. As an athletic trainer, being able to encourage and support an injured athlete can make a huge difference in their whole outlook of the recovery. In a high school setting, injured athletes usually have a tougher time accepting the fact that they have to sit out and heal before they can get back into the game. If I have an individual with such a mentality, I could use Bean's goal of winning and the experiences to give them an example to think on. His goal of winning can be applied to their goal of recovery in order to play. I'd ask them if they have a strong enough want to return to play and how they plan on getting to that point. If they can answer these questions reasonably, I know that they'll have the right mindset to work for their return. I'd explain, like in the movie, reaching their goal is not a straight shoot. It has to be broken down and mastered piece by piece. I'd ask them to come up with a SMART goal that we'd track and achieve together. As with any goal, setbacks are common, and having someone else there is always a great help. I'd help out the athlete plan ahead for these setbacks and roadblocks. In order to return to play, they have to get into top performance. To do that, they must go to rehab, but even before that, they must heal. There are plenty of opportunities to fail, but also plenty of opportunities to get stronger, to be faster, and to become smarter.